1982 was one of the best years for punk rock. I said what I said, so let's rank my top 10 favorite albums that made this year so iconic. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pretty in Punk, the punk rock podcast. My name is Fiona. I am your host and girly girl guide to the world of punk rock and everything in between. And I have been listening to punk since I was in early high school. And while there are so many bands and artists that really made my music taste what it is and shaped me as a person and my music taste as a whole, I started to realize that most of my favorite albums of all time are from 1982 because this year was just so incredibly iconic. There are so many legendary releases from this year. So many bands had their debut albums released this year. There are just so many bands and albums that made 1982 iconic. And I know what you guys are thinking. Girl, you're like 24. What do you know about it? I listened to it. I've gotten comments like that before, and listen, I guess maybe I could understand that argument, but at the same time, I have a friend that studies classical music and loves classical music and is now on to become a classical music teacher. So, she wasn't hanging out and partying with Beethoven, but she still loves classical music. And I think the same can go for any type of music or art form or anything historical. I think even if you weren't alive during that time, you can still love it and talk about it and obsess over it and have a podcast about it. But all of that to say, I think it is safe to say that 1982, whether you were alive then or not, you can admit it was a pretty iconic year for punk rock. And I mean, it was a game-changing year for punk rock, period. From the UK to the US, bands were pushing boundaries like never before. So many of these bands were shaking up the scene and putting out albums that are still influencing music today. I have spent a lot of time digging through my favorite records, so today I am counting down my top 10 releases from 1982. And while these are my top 10, I will be ranking them from my least favorite, number 10, all the way to my favorite, number 1. But I wouldn't even call number 10 my least favorite. As the list goes on, I just love them a little bit more than the last, as I guess what we can say. Side note, this list is all my opinion. I'm sure there are going to be some people who disagree with my picks, who are going to be like, where is this album? Where is that album? This is just my top 10. All opinions are my own, and I crafted this list purely based on opinion. So if you're going to be like, why did you rank this album so low? How could you rank this one so high? Where is this album? This is only my top 10 from this year, and all opinions are my own. So feel free to have your own opinion, of course. This is just mine. So look, whether you are a punk veteran or just getting into the scene, stick around because these albums defined a generation and completely changed the game. So let's count down and start from number 10. At number 10, we have City Baby Attacked by Rats by GBH. This album honestly finds UK 82 and street punk. This album is raw, aggressive, in your face, and noisy in all the right ways with just the right amount of shock value. It's just the kind of album that punches you in the face and then keeps on swinging as the album progresses. Now, while this album is in my top 10 from this year, I will be honest as to why it is so low, because it's not one that I revisit often when it comes to listening to it in full. I tend to just want to listen to one-off songs from this album. In my opinion, I do find a lot of the songs on this album to be very repetitive. A lot of them sound very similar, and the choruses are very similar with the melody or just like one or two words being shouted in the chorus in like a chanty kind of style. So when you are listening in full, some of the songs do sound sound very similar, not a whole lot of experimentation going on, but this is very early in their career, so it makes total sense why it sounds like that. But I'm sure you can understand. You guys know I love a no skip album, but for me, this is not a no skip album, so that's why it is so low. I typically just choose a few songs to listen to here and there from this one. But that being said, when I am craving that pure, relentless, in your face punk energy, this album really does deliver. It's the kind of album that I put on if I just want to like blast some punk in the car, or if I am going for a super fast run. For example, songs like Sick Boy, Time Bomb, and I Am the Hunted, those are my personal top 3 on this album, and those are the ones that I usually gravitate towards. So all in all, number 10, not because I dislike it, I really enjoyed this album, but compared to the other ones on this list, it's not a no skip album for me, but I just think it's so iconic, and I just admire that like raw energy that it delivers, because while it may be number 10 on my list, I think in terms of energy, it is top tier. Moving on to number 9 is The Record by Fear. And let's be real, if you really want some in your face, shock value, no holds barred punk, this is it, and it delivers all of that. I think it's kind of safe to say with this album that Fear, they weren't trying to win like a popularity contest. They're just trying to say whatever the hell they want in their music, and they nailed it. It's jarring, aggressive, and some of the lyrics, yeah, they do have serious shock value. I mean, just listen to Fresh Flesh if you want an example, or even songs that also discuss some shocking themes in a more metaphorical way, like Beef Bologna, for example, second song on the album. But here's the thing too, I think it's also a smart album lyrically, despite some of the lyrics that may, you know, give your grandma a heart attack. I think that I Love Living in the City, I love that song, and I think it's one of the most sarcastic love songs to city living. I love that it's jarring and it does have that element of shock value. Like, just read the lyrics or listen to it, you'll know what I mean. But underneath all of that, I adore this song, and I think that the band is just super tight on this record. Now, it's number 9 on my list, and I think the reason why it is so low is because I'm not always in the mood to listen to something like this, but when I am, I mean, it hits hard, especially like how I was just talking about with GBH. It's the kind of record that I want to listen to if I am in the mood for like loud in your face raw punk. Especially sometimes if I am at the gym, I will definitely put this on. It fuels a hell of a workout, let me tell you. So top 3 songs on this album: I Don't Care About You, New York's All Right if you like saxophones, and Give Me Some Action. This album is just essential punk chaos from 1982, 100%. Coming in at number 8 is Under the Big Black Sun by X, and honestly, this is a band that really fascinates me and I find to be such incredible musicians personally. To me, though, X and this album, it's not just a punk album, and they're not just a punk band. I think while yes, their roots are in punk, this album and this band has such a unique blend of punk, rockabilly, bluesy rock, and straight up poetry in their lyrics. I love the dual vocals on this album. Exene and John, their vocals just complement each other so well, so perfectly. Like, together they have that punk meets rockabilly thing kind of nailed down perfectly. While it's not as classic punk as their previous records, Under the Big Black Sun, it still has those punk tinges, just without fear of experimentation. It's still punk, but just a bit more layered. It is hard to choose a favorite off of this album because I do really adore this one, but top 3. I was trying to narrow down my top 3 on this one for a while, but I think for now, I'm just going to go with it. You know what? If it changes at another point in time, it changes. But for right now, it is Riding with Mary, How I Learned My Lesson, and Blue Spark. To me, whether you think they are 100% punk or not, I absolutely believe that this album earns a spot on this list. It just isn't as high up for me because when it comes to punk, I do often look for more gritty and harder punk, but I still adore this album and the range that it has. Next up, number 7, Bad Brains' self-titled debut. We got hardcore punk fused with reggae, even some early thrash metal vibes in there. I mean, this is probably the most interesting and ambitious record on this entire list. It's fast, chaotic, unapologetic, experimental, but still somehow totally cohesive. Songs like Band in DC, Sailing On, Attitude, I mean, they're lightning fast and just hit you right away. As soon as the album starts, you were just hit with pure energy. And just when you think you have the vibe of this album figured out, they slip into those reggae songs, and it is just pure perfection, and it comes in at the right time, right when the record needs some sort of break. It's the type of album that doesn't let you get too comfortable. I mean, Bad Brains essentially broke the rules of hardcore with this record, but by doing so, set the stage for so many bands to come after them. DC hardcore, punk fusion, genre bending. This album was way ahead of its time. Top tracks for me on this album: Attitude, Sailin' On, and Band in DC. This album is iconic, important, and I could not have made this list without it. Wow. 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 Moving on up, we got number 6, Wild in the Streets by Circle Jerks, and I've gotta say, I love this record personally. After seeing them live, I gained a whole new appreciation for them. They were never one of my favorite punk bands, if I'm being completely honest. I just never gravitated towards their sound, but after seeing them live, I was like, all right, I need to give this band another chance, and I think this is when my love for them really came through, and this is definitely a record that I love. It's fast, maybe a little unpolished, but I think that's what makes it great, and I think a lot of punk records at this time, that's what they were. It's their second studio album, and it really helped them solidify their place in the California punk scene. It's chaotic, but also smart, but also doesn't really care what other people think. I mean, let's start off with the title track, Wild in the Streets, one of their best known songs, and it's kind of insane how they took this very mellow, laid back Garland Jeffries song from the 1970s and turned it into this raging punk anthem that is also one hell of an album opener. In the heat of the summer, better call up the plumber and turn on the street pump to cool me off with your new. You get 15 songs in 25 minutes, and to me, that is the perfect length for a punk album. Short bursts of this crazy energy, and also their cover of Put a Little Love in Your Heart. I mean, low-key adore that. I think it's great. Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. And it also just comes out of left field, like you're not expecting it, you know? I think that this album sometimes gets overlooked because it's stuck right in between their debut and then golden shower of hits, but for me, I think it's the perfect middle ground between those two. Top 3 favorite tracks on this one: Meet the Press, Stars and Stripes, and Defamation Innuendo. Number 5, we have Sound of Music by The Addicts, and this is one of these albums that I fell in love with instantly from the first listen, even with that carnival music in the beginning. Sometimes I'll be like at a coffee shop listening to music or at the gym listening to music, and that song will come on when I'm like on the treadmill or something, and I know the person next to me is thinking, why is this girl listening to like clown music next to me? But I swear, it's just the opening of one of my favorite albums ever. I mean, How Sad is just a killer opener. It's so catchy and just infectious. After listening to that song, I will have that chorus stuck in my head for days. And then the way that it seamlessly flows into 4 3 2 1, it's like those two songs were made to be played live back to back. The flow of this album is just perfection. What makes this album stand out to me is that personally, I don't find this album to ever hit a lull. Maybe I am biased because it's one of my favorite albums of all time, but I don't skip anything. I mean, sure, I will pick a few one-off songs to throw on here and there, but honestly, this is a no skips album for me. You guys know I love a no skip album, so this is one of them for me. This is the Addicts in their prime. While yes, it is still raw and punk, it has that signature theatricality with it and storytelling flair that makes them totally unique, and I think that's why I do find this band so fascinating. It's because they have this punk rock quality that is almost like vaudevillian in a way. Maybe it is because I did grow up as a theater kid. Could you tell? I gravitate towards music that maybe is more like this. And I think that is why it's one of my favorite punk records. A lot of the songs tell such a great story, and I love the lyricism, and they're fun, a little bit quirky maybe, but they're so dang catchy. Top 3 tracks for me. This was a hard one. How Sad, Easy Way Out, and Johnny Was a Soldier, but also 4321 and Chinese Takeaway are really up there as well. This album is just a blast. Sound of Music is fun, fast, and completely unforgettable. Once you listen to it once, you're not going back. We got a drug. We're gonna try that on you. We'll make you die. It'll get you just a little bit. All right, the list continues. Number 4, to me, this is Dead Kennedys in their prime. What I love about this album, it is pure punk energy, but with this kind of like oddball energy, I guess you can say. It's a little off kilter, but in the best way possible. There are so many elements that really keep you on your toes when you're listening the whole way through. I mean, think about the chorus of like Terminal Preppy, or the weirdly eerie start to Forest Fire, and the bizarre, almost theatrical bridge to Trust Your Mechanic. It's weird, but also aggressive, and it totally works. And I say weird as a compliment because I like music that is a little bit unexpected and a little bit off kilter. And of course, we have to applaud Dead Kennedys because this album tackles consumerism, the media, politics, American culture, but all with this biting sarcasm and a little bit of madness in it as well. It's not just punk, it's punk that makes you think, and it's punk with a message. What keeps it shy of my top 3 is that I don't find it to be a casual listen. I don't think it's one of those albums that you can just like throw on in the background all the time. It's one that honestly, I mostly like listen to in private. I'm not going to be like, hey, friend in the car with me that doesn't listen to punk music, want to listen to this Dead Kennedys album? Because I don't think they would like it. So it's not one that I'm always throwing on to listen to back to back. But when I am in the mood for it, I listen to it front to back. But of course, there are a lot more songs on this album that I pick and choose a couple from here and there. Top 3 tracks on this album: Terminal Preppy, Government Flu, and Winnebago Warrior. Those are the ones that I keep coming back to if I'm not listening to this album in full. Those are the ones that I love. To me, this album is experimental yet sharp as all hell, and to me, that is what makes it truly unforgettable, and that's why it is so high up on this list. We're getting to top 3 now, and let me tell you, this next top 3 is what I call, in my head, my big 3 bands. These are my 3 favorite punk bands of all time, and the bands that really shaped my music taste. I'm probably spoiling the top 3 for me already if you've been here before or if you are super observant, but you know. So coming in at number 3, How Can Hell Be Any Worse? The debut from Bad Religion, a band that I adore and I'm seeing for the first time in August, and I cannot wait. To me, Greg Graffin's vocals are the grittiest here, and even though this is their first record, the band's message and political themes that they're so well known for, they're all so apparent on this record already. I mean, these were some young kids, but the themes that they were talking about were super important and still carry through in their music today. I mean, this is the record that helped define Bad Religion as a band with something important to say. Musically, it's fast, but very melodic. It's filled with those signature harmonies that I think Bad Religion does so well. It's something that I think is a standout for them and that they do incredibly well. It's angry yet super intellectual and full of purpose. Top 3 favorite tracks: F Armageddon, This Is Hell, We're Only Gonna Die, and Damned to Be Free. This is a landmark debut that has such a special place in my heart. At number 2, Walk Among Us by Misfits. And look, I talk about this band way too much. You guys know that this is one of my favorite bands of all time, so I'm going to keep it brief. Kind of, hopefully. Maybe. We'll see. This band, really, their music does mean the world to me. I mean, sometimes when I hear these songs, I'm just transported back to like sophomore year of high school, listening to these songs on the bus at like 6 a.m. going to school. It absolutely defines what we know and love as horror punk. They took that speed and energy of punk and mixed it with those B-movie horror themes, oftentimes, sometimes campy themes even, and I love it so much. I think at this time they brought something a little bit different. I mean, no one was really doing it like them at this time. Most of their songs are about horror movies, horror themes. They really stuck out in the crowd. Even Rolling Stone gave it props, calling it the height of horror punk and naming it one of the 40 greatest punk albums of all time, and I definitely agree. Misfits is one band that from the moment I first heard them, I instantly fell in love with them, like head over heels in love with this band. I used to try drawing that logo on my notebook in school, and I was just full on obsessed, and this album really defined my high school experience. It's one of the albums that defined my high school experience, but Misfits really was one of those bands for me that helped my music taste evolve, and I can't really imagine my life without. And that is why this album is so high up on that list. And I mean, look, love them or hate them, because I know they have a lot of haters out there. They are so incredibly influential, not just on punk, but on pop culture and metal too. Their logo is basically one of the most iconic rock and punk logos of all time. Everybody knows it. Even people who don't know punk music know this logo. And I just love this album so much. The Danzig era is my era of the Misfits. That's all I listen to. Okay. God, I talk about this band way too much, so I'm going to hold back on enthusing about them. But top 3 favorite tracks: 20 Eyes, Violent World, All Hell Breaks Loose. Those are my top 3, but this whole album, I listen to it all the time and I adore it, even though, okay. Who else noticed this album came back on Spotify for like a month and then went off again? Like, I don't know what's up with that, but the one day it was back in my library after being off for years, and then one day it was gone again. So I don't know what's up with that, but this album, total classic, and I love it. So it totally, for me, earned its place at number 2. Almost ready, almost there, or is it already over? We have made it to number 1. Drumroll please. Milo Goes to College by Descendants. I know you all have been like, I knew this was going to be number 1. There it is in the back of every single podcast episode if you're watching on video. You guys know I talk about this album all the time. This album truly, truly defines my music taste. Of course, it had to be number 1. Of course, I knew this album was going to be number 1 the second that I had this idea for an episode. I mean, forget me. This album has been praised by critics and countless musicians who consider it to be the foundation of pop punk, even before this was a coined term for the genre. And after watching Filmage, The Story of Descendants, and all, it's clear that so many artists consider this to be one of their favorite albums of all time too, and an album that honestly really influenced them as musicians. This record is massively influential to so many people. To me, why I love this album is not only because it truly really defines my high school experience as well, but it has this perfect blend of punk intensity with vulnerability and honesty, and that's what I love about it. I mean, it's angry at times, but also heartfelt and youthful, and to me, this album is purely vulnerable and real, and that's a big reason as to why I love it. Unlike some other albums on this list, this is one that I always listen to front to back. Very rarely do I just pick one-off songs, because when I'm craving to listen to this album, I want the full experience. I want the full start to finish. I love it. I am going to be so real with this album. I don't even think I could pick a top 3 favorite songs because I love it so much. I really don't know if I have one. I think if I started listing off favorite songs, it would be more than half the album. So if that doesn't tell you how much I love this album, I don't know what does. Truly though, it is my favorite album from 1982, but it is also my favorite album of all time. hands down, I feel totally confident and comfortable saying that I know this is my favorite album of all time. And look, if you've never listened to this album, do yourself a favor and check it out. This album really changed my life. Okay, I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing me talk about this album, but this video could not have been made without it. And there you have it, my top 10 favorite punk albums from 1982. Of course, there are so many other albums from 1982, but this is just my list. I would love to hear yours. What are your top favorite punk albums from 1982? Your number one, your top five, your top 10, I don't care. Let me know what ones are your favorites. And conversely, which ones do you think deserve some more love? Drop your picks and thoughts in the comments below. If you want to keep up, if you want to follow along with Pretty in Punk, you can follow me at Pretty in Punk Pod on TikTok and Instagram. I mostly post on TikTok, but I'm trying to post more on Instagram. My podcast is also available on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, the works, whatever streaming platform you have, you will find me on there. But I always have all of my links below in the show notes or the YouTube description. And of course, I do also have my YouTube channel where I post the video version of each episode. That's my personal favorite. I feel like maybe you get a bit more of a sense of my personality and also kind of how I'm reacting to certain things on there. So to wrap it all up, thank you so much for watching. I'm sure this one was a long one. I don't even want to know how long I've been recording at this point. I truly had fun making this episode and going back and listening to all of these albums. It felt like I was listening to them for the first time again because I was listening to them through a different lens, more of like an analytical lens. So it was fun to go back and listen to all of them, and I hope that you do the same. But thank you so much for watching or listening, and I will see you next time in the next episode.